Morning, everybody. Today we're going to have a quick look at the Global Compact for Migration. I had a look at the Global Compact for Refugees, which is not the same thing. They are complementary pieces of legislation from the UN. So here is, where the one references the other. So number 3, paragraph 3 is where the Global Compact on Refugees is referenced. And I'm going to read it all out because it's important and informs our current topic. So number 3, discussions about international migration at the global level are not new. We recall the advances made through the United Nations high-level dialogues on international migration and development in 2006 and 2013. We also acknowledge the contributions of the Global Forum on Migration and Development launched in 2007. These platforms paved the way for the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants, through which we committed to elaborate a global compact for refugees and to adopt this global compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration in 2 separate processes. The 2 global compacts together present complementary international cooperation frameworks that fulfill their respective mandates as laid out in the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants, which recognizes that migrants and refugees may face common challenges and similar vulnerabilities. Okay, so that's the reference made to the other piece of legislation, and that's what we're looking at here. And I just want to show you that it's the part 2, the Global Compact on Refugees. So, and the link should be in the description. I think I forgot to put the link in the description last time, but I fixed it. It should. In the other video I do on, and I do an in-depth look at this document, but I wanted to show you this. And we're going to focus on cost a little bit at the beginning, and then we're going to look at all of the countries that are dropping out of the Global Compact on migration and why. And we're going to have a listen to President Trump. Okay, so number 1, so the most important thing about background information that the UN wants you to know, the very first paragraph about in the Global Compact on refugees is they are very expensive. That's what all of this says. That's what this whole paragraph says. I'll read it out, but that's what it boils down to. It is very expensive, okay? Number 1, the predicament of refugees is a common concern of humankind. Refugee situations have increased in scope and scale and complexity, and refugees require protection, assistance, and solutions. Millions of refugees live in protracted situations, often in low and middle income countries, facing their own economic and developing challenges. And the average length of stay has continued to grow. Despite the tremendous generosity of host countries and donors, including unprecedented levels of humanitarian funding, the gap between needs and humanitarian funding has also widened. Okay, this is me for a second. I notice a trend. It's not enough. It's not enough. Despite unprecedented levels of humanitarian funding, it's not enough. We need to tax you. We need to get more money. Okay, back to the article or the document. There's an urgent need for more equitable sharing of the burden and responsibility for hosting and supporting the world's refugees while taking account of existing contributions and the differing capacities and resources among states. Refugees and host communities should not be left behind. So that whole paragraph was, it's expensive and we should share the burden with frontline states. Okay. So here is an article from written by Mr. Hassan, our Somali-born immigration minister, and a couple of other cabinet ministers and UN official. Okay. The title is, Why Canada Will Lead the Charge on UN's Global Refugee Plan. Op-ed, the UN's Global Compact on Refugees could be a game changer, and Canada is well placed to help make it a reality, say 2 cabinet ministers and a UN official. And I'm just going to skip down because I wanted to show you how expensive it is again. The Compact's goals are, after all, ambitious. The first is clear: to ease the pressure on countries that welcome and host large numbers of refugees, currently mainly in the Middle East and Sub-Saharan Africa. Frontline countries like Turkey, Lebanon, Uganda, or Bangladesh have argued that the impact of hosting hundreds of thousands or even millions of refugees is significant, especially as it's often after a sudden influx. They are right. Distributing safe drinking water, putting kids in schools, or providing maternal health care to pregnant women are logistical and costly endeavors. These countries are unfairly being asked to carry the burden simply as a result of their geography, as they nobly keep their borders open for those fleeing for their lives from neighboring states. Okay, so it's propaganda trash, right? It's garbage. But the point is, they're trying to make everybody think it's really, really expensive until Donald Trump says it is very, well, President Trump claims that 10 refugees overseas cost as much as 1 in the US. And then this whole article is panning that. They're saying, no, Donald Trump, that's wrong. You're crazy. And the point I wanted to make, because I talk about this in my other video that is linked, the Global Compact on Refugees, that look at the first 17 pages, that you can't have it both ways. It either costs a lot or it doesn't. So here's the meat of it. The Times later published the squelched report on its website. HHS looked at a 10-year cost for all refugees, not just from the Middle East, and it came up with a figure of nearly $7,134 a year. That's just over half the estimate by CIS. And that's American, not Canadian. It's a lot more expensive in Canada. Back to the article. But the HHS took it one step further and estimated the taxes paid by refugees, including payroll taxes, income taxes, property taxes, sale taxes, and the like. The net fiscal impact was $63 billion over 10 years, the agency said. In other words, over time, the taxes paid by refugees easily exceeded the cost to taxpayers. Okay, so it either pays out $63 billion to have all these refugees, and it's a super big bump to your economy, and you definitely want them, and everybody should be fighting over them, and Trump's a complete idiot, or it's real expensive, yo. I have a feeling that these articles and these things are written, I don't know, to influence people's opinion. It's just a hypothesis. So I think that's interesting. Here's Donald Trump speaking specifically about the Global Compact, and it's actually at the top of this article, but they cut it really strangely and they cut him off. So I'm just giving him a little bit more time on it. And it's, well, like everything, it's interesting. I like hearing Mr. Trump speak. He's very clear about his position, regardless of whether you like it or don't like it. He's the president of the United States with all of the power that entails. So that's, I mean, whether you like it or don't like it, that's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be for at least 2, probably 6 more years.
To confront threats to sovereignty from uncontrolled migration, tolerance for human struggling and human smuggling and trafficking is not humane. It's a horrible thing that's going on at levels that nobody has ever seen before. It's very, very cruel. Illegal immigration funds criminal networks, ruthless gangs, and the flow of deadly drugs. Illegal immigration exploits vulnerable populations, hurts hardworking citizens, and has produced a vicious cycle of crime, violence, and poverty. Only by upholding national borders, destroying criminal gangs, can we break this cycle and establish a real foundation for prosperity. We recognize the right of every nation in this room to set its own immigration policy in accordance with its national interests, just as we ask other countries to respect our own right to do the same, which we are doing. That is one reason the United States will not participate in the new Global Compact on migration. Migration should not be governed by an international body unaccountable to our own citizens. Ultimately, the only long-term solution to the migration crisis is to help people build more hopeful futures in their home countries. Make their countries great again.
I like Trump. And I know not everybody does, and that's fine. But again, he tells it like he sees it, and I can't fault the guy. I mean, okay, so back to the Global Compact on migration. The list of 23 objectives can be found in paragraph 16 of the Global Compact for migration. So let's have a look at paragraph 16 of the Global Compact on migration. And then we're going to look at all the countries that are leaving the Global Compact on migration. So objectives for safe and orderly migration. 1, collect and utilize accurate and disaggregated data as a basis for evidence-based policies. Evidence-based policies, by the way, everybody, was the excuse Trudeau was trying to use to take our banking data. That's why he was going to take it and let StatsCan have it all. Okay, number 2, minimize the adverse drivers and structural factors that compel people to leave their country of origin. Number 3, provide accurate and timely information at all stages of migration. Number 4, ensure that all migrants have proof of legal identity and adequate documentation. Number 5, enhance availability and flexibility of pathways for regular migration. Number 6, facilitate fair and ethical recruitment and safeguard conditions that ensure decent work. Number 7, address and reduce vulnerabilities in migration. Number 8, save lives and establish coordinated international efforts on missing migrants. Number 9, strengthen the transitional response to smuggling of migrants. Number 10, prevent, combat, and eradicate trafficking in persons in the context of international migration. Number 11, manage borders in an integrated, secure, and coordinated manner. How exactly? Number 12, strengthen certainty and predictability in migration procedures for appropriate screening, assessment, and referral. Number 13, use migration detention only as a measure of last resort and work towards alternatives. Number 14, enhance consular protection, assistance, and cooperation through the migration cycle. Number 15, provide access to basic services for migrants. Number 16, empower migrants and societies to realize full inclusion and social cohesion. Number 17, eliminate all forms of discrimination and promote evidence-based public discourse to shape perceptions of migration. Number 18, invest in skill development and facilitate mutual recognition of skills, qualifications, and competencies. Number 19, create conditions for migrants and diasporas to fully contribute to sustainable development in all countries. Number 20, promote faster, safer, and cheaper transfer of remittance and foster financial inclusion of migrants. Number 21, cooperate and facilitate safe and dignified return and readmission, as well as sustainable reintegration. Number 22, establish mechanisms for the portability of social security entitlements and earned benefits. Number 23, strengthen international cooperation and global partnership for safe, orderly, and regular migration. So all of that sounds awful. It sounds terrible, like a terrible, awful idea. Okay, so I just wanted to... I was going through this list and I was going to go off on a tangent every time I kind of had proof of something, but the irregular... No, I'm not going to touch on that right now. So the Czech Republic is leaving the migration treaty. Czech Republic has long favored the principle of separating legal and illegal migration, Deputy Prime Minister says. The Czech Republic will not sign the United Nations Migrant Pact next month, joining Austria, Bulgaria, Hungary, as well as the United States in withdrawing from the global agreement. Quote, the Czech Republic has long favored the principles of separating legal and illegal migration, Deputy Prime Minister Richard Barber told the news conference Wednesday, Reuters reported. Quote, this is what the Czech Republic and other European countries' suggestions aimed for, he added. The final text does not reflect those proposals. The non-binding Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration lays out a common approach to international migration and includes 23 objectives to better organize the flow of refugees and define their rights more precisely. Participating countries, for example, limit the pressure on countries with many migrants and to promote the self-reliance of newcomers. In July 1993, in July, all 193 UN member nations, except the US, expressed their support for the agreement. Later, the Hungarian and Austrian governments renounced the agreement. On Monday, Bulgaria's coalition government also said it intends to pull out of the treaty with its parliament due to vote on the issue on Wednesday, according to Reuters. Poland is considering withdrawing. So here is opposition to the Global Compact for Migration is sound and fury, and this is Forbes. And I wanted to show you this because they're trying to say no, it's nothing to worry about. It says, quote, even for an initiative put forward by the United Nations, the Global Compact for Migration sure has caused some confusion. It's somewhat obscure, technically non-binding, and entirely voluntary. And yet the pact to be signed in Marrakesh in December has got the far right up in arms all across Europe. Yeah, well, they're giving away their sovereignty. Here's Bulgaria. Bulgaria opposes UN Pact for Safe and Orderly Migration. Bulgaria has said it opposes the UN Pact on regulating the treatment of migrants and refugees. A growing number of EU states are voicing their reservations about the historic global agreement. Here is Irish Times reporting Poles and Czechs follow Austria and Hungary in rejecting UN Migration Pact. And I'm not going to go through all these articles. They're all essentially saying the same thing. Here's one for Austria. Saying Austria has concerns about UN Migration Pact, might back out. And these are all legitimate concerns. Here's one from Hungary, the government of Hungary, I believe. The UN Compact for Migration is endangering the security of the Hungarian people. And Canadian Free Press, the Global Compact for Migration Agreement to be adopted on 10th of 11th December 2018. On December 10th, 2018, Trudeau joins an international group, Global Compact for Migration agreement that grants migrants from all over the world broad, quote, human rights to migrate anywhere, including to Canada. Quote, on September 19, 2016, heads of state and government from the 193 UN member states came together at the UN General Assembly to discuss topics related to migration and refugees at the global level. As a result, the UN member states agreed to cooperate in the elaborate and global compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration, expected to be adopted, blah, 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 blah. We all know about all that. So that's just a link. And the only link I could find, it was from the Toronto Sun, talking about the UN migration, a cause for concern. Other than that, there isn't much media talking about it other than op-eds from our immigration minister talking about how great it's going to be and how expensive it is for those countries that have to do it now, which, again, much less than if we brought the refugees to Canada. Like if we agreed to help them in their home nations rather than bringing them to Canada, it would be much cheaper. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Washington Post is right and they're a net gain. I'm not sure. But this global compact on migration and a lot of its policies are very, very concerning. Very concerning for what they mean for Canada, and very concerning for what a lot of countries are already backing out for reasons they've listed. Pretty clear reasons that say, this isn't what we want. This isn't what strengthens us. So this is what's happening. It's being signed December 10th, regardless of whether we want to or not. It's happening. And outrage, I don't know, change of government. I don't know. I don't know what can stop it. But at this point, Canada is leading the charge for this awful, terrible, no good, very bad plan. So hopefully Maxime Bernier can clean up the mess. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca. Thanks for watching, everybody.